If you're a strategy fan and would like to win a copy of this one as it's a sponsored video, just let us know down in the comments what's your favourite strategy game on Switch. Hi everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp. My name is Mark Walker and hopefully you are ready to see another addictive game. Terraformers immediately caught my attention on the eShop. As a fan of both space, the Mars landings that they're looking to do, and strategy games, this was a nice little combination for me, and there was a demo that I could pick up and play, so I did exactly that. By the time I'd finished the demo, I was messaging the publisher saying, hey, we should definitely do a collaborative video with this one, aka, can I get paid to play a game that I'm really enjoying? And thankfully the answer was yes. So then here is everything that you need to know about the game Terraformers on the Nintendo Switch, and you can do your own testing by downloading the demo completely free right now. Does the Red Planet truly await you, or should you wait on the Red Planet? Well, let's find out. Now for those who go into games looking for visual fidelity, 3D rendered graphics, beautiful cutscenes, well, that's not what you're going to get here. What you do get though are really nice stylized visuals, firstly of the planet's surface, which can be rotated in 3 dimensions, and it shows you an overview of your entire colony. Now the premise here is that it's a new outpost essentially set up on Mars, and that you're trying to build it up over the course of several years to reach a set goal. The goals are shown up in the corner of the screen, and these represent the public happiness of those within your colony. And the further your colony progresses, you will, as the title suggests, end up terraforming your planet. You might restart active volcanoes, construct giant space mirrors, or nuke the poles to geo-engineer the entire planet in the way that you want it. It goes further. How about spreading adaptive bacteria, or planting full forests with animals, with each life form having their own specific requirements? But we need to rewind a little bit and just give you the overall flavour of the game. Before you do anything, you have to pick a leader. This is quite cool. They have basically different backgrounds. So one of them might come from a building background, one might be a classic politician, and it will affect how your colony grows and expands in a number of ways. Essentially, each of them have their own special abilities. So I had one that was particularly good at adventuring, and it allowed me to scan remote regions once per turn to see what they had there. And then there was another that improved the amount I could farm. And the politician, well, I just ignored the politician, I gotta be honest with you, but I'm sure she could have talked her way out of a shoebox. Once you've selected your leader, there's a little portrait of them shown in the corner as well as their special abilities, and you've got an overview of your colony. The first thing you're going to be doing is placing down a few buildings, one for habitat and hopefully one for food. Every building has its own prerequisite requirements, different resources, which range from several different types such as nitrates, other chemical elements, and of course H2O, water. A typical turn then has me placing down one of the buildings if I'm able to afford it, going out on an expedition to one of those areas that I haven't previously visited. It gives you an idea of what's going to be contained there, and it's not just resources, there are also key locations. So imagine the Grand Canyon on Earth. You might find an important, significant place that the local people are going to really respond to. This will then increase your public happiness as well as giving you some different resources. It's quite cool because that's exactly what would happen, isn't it? You might discover a cave system and it becomes a place of natural beauty. And after building up a trade post with Earth, they soon granted me the use of some satellites so that you can scan out into further regions, and it gives you a bit of an idea of where you can expand to before you decide to push in that direction. Now, to increase the resources you're gathering, you obviously need to set up mines, but you can't just go willy-nilly building in all directions. You have to have a population big enough to allow you to expand. That gets you into the loop of trying to build up your home-based colony, but also needing enough resources to do so. And the game introduces a number of ways that you can do that. The first, and I've kind of mentioned, there's a relationship with Earth, and they take notice of what you're doing, and they soon set up trade routes. You start out with just one. Basically, you can import one material of your choice, but you'll have to export one. This is good because some of the resources are really tricky to find, or you might need a specific one for a set building. There's a strategic element to where you place things as well. Now, when you first start these types of games, you tend to just place things where you think they look nice, and then you realize that there's a structure that will boost the productivity of those buildings when placed adjacent to them, so you start to use your noggin. Top tip, make sure you place your farms as well as any habitats connected to one of the 3-pronged areas. This is because you get a building that will basically boost them all when it's adjacent to them. So I think the most that I can see that you could do is to have 3 adjacent to this one area. Now each year represents one turn, and you can skip to the next turn whenever you want by pulling the trigger, and I think it's pressing A or B. But before you do that, you're going to want to allocate some projects. Now, unlike something like Command & Conquer, where you have a set list of buildings and you can just choose to build them whenever you can afford it, essentially, here, each turn, you'll get random projects come up on the screen and you get to choose one of them. This might mean that one will come up that you really need, like a housing area, but other times you'll get completely, not useless ones, but ones that aren't your primary focus. So really choosing the right things early on is important. And again, I would say food and population increase would be my 2 main areas. When you build colony areas for habitats, you gain human residents, but you also gain robot helpers. And the amount of those you have determine how large your colony can get and how far you can expand it. The general loop goes: place a building, choose a new project, begin to target a specific building type or scientific avenue, expand as far as you can, because each time you boldly go to a new area, you'll gain a load of resources, and then move on to the next year. All the while keeping a steady eye on the population happiness, and it's shown in the corner kind of the direction the happiness is going. And what happens is it goes from initially just being survival, so you're just trying to keep them alive, keep them fed and with food. They gradually become, like all of us, requiring quite a bit more than what they actually need to survive: entertainment facilities, those extracurricular activities, all of that stuff, as well as scientific and educational avenues for progression. Now, the terraforming is the name of the game, and to do that you have to set up different things like an animal spreader or different machines and buildings which can spread bacteria. As you do this, it changes the environment, add into the atmosphere. It will also increase the amount of water on the planet's surface, and as you'd expect, you gradually see it change. And as the different climates change, you can then introduce different animal species as well as plants. There's something so compelling about seeing Mars gradually become something lush. And once you've achieved the game's target, it's not game over. You basically get a ton of new rewards, new buildings that you could construct. And in that regard, it feels a little bit like a deck builder. The same goes for the leaders. You'll gain new leaders for the next time you play. I was really pleased to see that you don't have to abandon that colony. I was worried it was going to make me start all over from the beginning. You've got 2 options here. You can just play casually with no pressure or expectation increases, or you can carry on in survival mode where the expectations of your colony are constantly getting higher and higher. Or there's option 3, which is to play one of the many new scenarios you will have likely unlocked. They have different focuses, like just trying to build up the most diverse, lush planet, or to mine Mars to bits to try and make as much money as you possibly can, and a number of different ones as well, as you can see. It's another one of those videos where it's taken me far longer to make it just because I can't stop playing it. And I am glad I've finished at least one complete run through, because I have an idea of the amount of content being offered here, and it's decent for the value. In terms of controls, well, it's very straightforward. You end up using around 4 or 5 buttons, but there's nice combinations to make things easy. And there's also HD rumble in here as well, which gives a nice tactile feel as you move between your colony elements. Now, tying the whole thing together, I'd say the art style is pretty simplistic. I don't dislike it. It's more functional though than impressive. But what I really like is the soundtrack. There's a lovely little soundtrack in the background. Take a listen. Now, Terraformers is only £12.59. It currently has a 30% discount until December the 9th, which is an absolute bargain. Now, if you're a strategy fan at all, do go and try out the Jet demo, because it's well worth it in my opinion for that price, and looks, as we know, can be deceiving. It was developed by Asteroid Lab and published by Goblin Studio, and it will take 1.9 gigabytes to download. The RRP is 18 quid, and if the idea of terraforming planets by restarting volcanoes is your cup of tea, well, you're going to really enjoy yourself. A big thanks to Goblin Studios for sponsoring this one. I'm well happy with that. I was quite happy just to play the demo and buy the game myself, but telling you a lot about it and why it's so ridiculously addictive, yeah, I'll quite happily do that as well. Thanks to all of you, to our Patreons and our members. And as always, just a big thanks to anyone that enjoys our content. We really do appreciate it. Let us know in the comments what you think of this one to hopefully win a copy. And as always, for all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!